welcome. It is October 21st, 2024. Mr. Langford is going to lead us in a prayer, and Mr. Smith is going to lead us with the pledge to the flag.
Let us pray. Our most kind and gracious Heavenly Father in heaven, Lord, we thank you for this another day, another opportunity that we have to live here on the face of this earth and to serve you. Another opportunity we have to come together as the Board of County Commissioners to conduct the business that has been set before us. We ask, Father, that you guide our minds and hearts in the right directions, that we'll study the issues and the things that come before us, and that we'll make the best decision that we can make that would benefit not only us and Gilchrist County, but would benefit you and glorify you in every way. We ask, Father, that you would be with our first responders and our military people and all the people that put their life on the line each and every day to keep us safe as possible. We ask, Father, that you would be with our country, that we might examine this upcoming election and choose the best candidates to do the best job that would put this nation in a position to turn back to you and serve you and be the kind of people that you would have us be. But we know, Father, that we're only pilgrims passing through. We live here temporarily, and we got a place called heaven, that one day we will spend eternity with thee in heaven if we've been found righteous in thy sight. We ask, Father, that you forgive us our shortcomings. We ask that you be with us now as we go through this business here tonight. Guard, guide, and keep us safe on the way home. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Address flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, welcome to this meeting. We're going to move right in. Are there any agenda changes?
I have none, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Anybody else?
None, Mr. Chairman.
All right. We have a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. Second.
All right. We've got a motion by Commissioner Langford and a second by Commissioner Thomas to approve the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right. We have had a chance to read through the consent agenda. Are there any questions on the consent agenda or any?
I just have one, or two maybe. The Pittman Engineering invoice, that's the last one, if I understand that right. Is that, Bobby? Wouldn't that be the last invoice?
I believe that is correct, yes, sir.
100% is what it says.
Yes, sir.
And then
for
the dispositions, the animal crate and the generators, they just go to scrap or to
yeah,
sell
or
or something like
trash.
that.
There's nothing there to save, sell, or do anything.
They just unusable. Okay.
All right.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
All right. I have a motion.
Thank you.
From Commissioner Smith and a second by Commissioner Thomas. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we will move on down. We have two times during the meeting that if the public would like to address the commission in some way or another, if you're not on the agenda, yet you would like to address us in some way, this is your first chance to do it. You'll get another chance at the end of the meeting. Anybody wish to address the commission today? All right, and we will move right on. Don't believe there's any constitutional officers here to speak. Am I correct? Okay. We will move on to the county administrator's report, number 6, general information.
Yes, sir. As you said, my report starts with item number 6 today. First is the pay application for the fire station for Hoffman in the amount of $86,151.90. What I wanted to do is also, let me blow this up just a little bit. I want to let the board know as well, as you're going to see, there's a number in here for change orders, $44,554. Your original contract amount was $785,235. That change order is just for us to be able to track some cost and different unit items that's changed some. There are going to be some savings as well, so there is not a change in the contract price at this time. We're using this procedure so that we can track those. I'm not sure why he put it in here this way. I've asked him not to include it this way, but we're tracking. So we don't want to, only thing that we're approving today is the payment in that amount of,
Of 86,151?
yes, sir, 86,151.90, and you can state that in your motion if you would
So
like.
that's not gonna include the change order?
No, we're most likely not gonna even need any change orders. There's some identified savings. We had some additional costs, and the reason for that cost, there was a lot of clay that didn't show up in the geo, so they had to dig the clay out and put in some fill dirt, and then there was a little bit of change in the plumbing due to the fire safety. But there's, like I said, we've got some other things coming that we've already seen that we're gonna identify that's gonna be savings, so that number should actually go away. So,
Could we have them reflect that?
Yeah.
Because as it states, the contract sum to date is increased by that.
Well, I've
change
asked him
amount.
to make a correction, and so that, and he knows that. We just wanted to be sure that we could track it properly, so we was using, as you've seen on the jails, you know how to do the change orders back and forth, just to reflect what's going. But, I'll ask him to just do it as in change orders and not reflect the contract sum on there for now.
But
Okay.
Bobby, this invoice wouldn't change the overall contract that
No,
we
sir.
have with him and the amount of the contract. So it's maybe,
Correct.
I mean, I agree with
Yeah.
Mr. Newton to make sure that we document it, but
I've already spoke to him and told him that we didn't need to do it on this document because it kind of gives a false,
Right.
number, but in the future, it won't be on there. But it's not uncommon with any project that you're building to need one unit go up, another unit, go down. Some of y'all that's dealt with those, you see them. So right now, our contract price has not changed. The only way that contract price can change, if we have a separate document we bring to you as a change order.
So it's for, $785,000,
Yep,
235?
yes, sir.
So you need a motion for a current payment of $86,151.
$86,151.90. Yes, sir.
Okay. I'll make a motion, we approve that payment.
second,
We have a motion by Commissioner Langford and a second by Commissioner Smith to approve a payment of $86,151.90 to Hoffman. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Carries.
The next item is we have the bid results for, the, Ag Extension Building. We received those bids. We received 4 bids, with the low bid being Gray Construction Service, Inc. of $1,998,366, with, Joyner Construction being the highest bid of a little over 2.6 million. What we're asking you to do is approve Gray Construction Services, Inc., as the low bidder, and allow us to go and negotiate them. As you know, we only received $1 million for this project. So we do have unit cost in there. So we're gonna have to go in and adjust building size, maybe some different things. So we're not asking you to move forward, kind of like we did, I did at the last meeting. Same thing, just to allow us to be able to negotiate them, because we're not supposed to negotiate by the by the grant document until you've approved the low bid. So.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I've got a motion by Commissioner Thomas and a second by Commissioner Sharon Langford to approve Gray Construction Services Incorporated as a low bid. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
And Mr. Darrell Fegel is here today representing Gray as well too, so.
can I ask real quick, Bobby, related to that? Do we have an estimated start? I know we gotta negotiate, gotta come back.
Mhm.
But as far as estimated start time, finish time for that project?
I don't really know, and
I don't-
the only reason I say that is, until we get these prices worked out and come back to you guys, I'm hoping that we can do that within 30 days. And then hopefully maybe, I don't know, Mr. Darrell, do you know your schedule of when y'all might, can y'all start pretty quickly after it's awarded, or, okay, so,
I think the challenge in this is like, we're way off the budgeted amount, so.
It's $1 million off
Yeah.
what we
Yeah, we're
got.
gonna have to really,
So it's really gonna have to be some pencil sharpening
Yeah.
here. I
a
don't,
lot.
So $1 million doesn't buy much anymore.
so.
We had to cut back a lot.
But it does look like if we can get to that number, then they are ready to start construction.
Did we bid both phases or just the first phase?
This is the first phase.
Okay.
There's, sir,
Tell them we need to second.
we've already got it to them. But, there are some things that can be changed that could make a considerable amount. If you reduce your building size, you reduce your foundation, you reduce your retention pond, you reduce your parking, you reduce your electrical, you reduce your, you may reduce the number of restrooms you gotta have, so it snowballs, so.
We're gonna have to make cuts.
Yeah. The next item I have is, County Road 138, bid results for that as well. Anderson Columbia was our low bid.
They were way lower.
Yeah, at $5,607,396.69. If you will,
What's the difference between the bid amount and the alternate?
the original bid amount had some additional just ditch work and stuff in it that if we had the money would be good to have, but we didn't have to have it, so if you bid it as an alternate, then you don't have to rebid it. So we went ahead and put it in there. The guts of the project is the $5,607,396.69. When I sent out an email on Friday, we were $469,399.69 short. At 2:30 today, I received the reply back from the DOT where we had requested additional funding and they granted the additional funding. So we now have the money for the entire project. We would have been able to cut the scope some and still did the project. It wouldn't have got done, but now
Good deal.
they gave us the rest of the money. So I sent about 100 thank yous back to them for this additional funding. So if we can if you can approve, Anderson Columbia Construction with alternate number 1 at $5,607,396.69. And, we'll get to working on the contract and, we'll probably use the, AIA contract if the board is, let's just approve the bid and we'll bring the contract back. It takes a little while.
Motion to approve Anderson, Columbia Construction for $5,607,396.69.
I got a motion from Commissioner Sharon Langford, and a second by Commissioner Tommy Langford to approve Anderson Columbia Construction Incorporated for alternate 1 price of $5,607,396.69.
I do have one question. Bobby, it says resurfacing and paved shoulders, so that means we will be extending.
It is being wide.
Is it 2 or 3? You don't know?
I think overall is 3 foot.
3 foot.
So like a foot and a half on each side.
And probably guardrails.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Those are, they're
Yeah.
not even worth talking.
That's kind of what got this whole project started was guardrails.
And I also talked to him about maybe paving to the property line, the driveways, and I don't know. if
We have that in there.
You did, good,
Mhm.
okay, good.
Yep. That could have been some of the stuff we would have had to mitigate
Take
if we
out,
didn't
yeah.
get the other money.
Well, I hope it passes, because
Yeah.
that'll save us a lot of money in the future.
Yes, it was.
And start date for this project,
I would say in 90 days, probably 90 to 120 days.
and we're gonna start Gay Road, 30 days?
Middle of November.
Mid-November.
Okay.
All right, we have a motion and a second. You haven't voted on it yet, but I think this one will pass considering it's grant money. So all those in favor of Anderson Columbia Construction signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Mr. Chairman, it's not on here, but as part of this, I'm gonna need one more motion if the board doesn't mind doing it. And it would approve to allow you to sign the document which provides the additional money, the $469,399.69. So if the board could just make a motion to allow you, that way we don't slow this process down and have to wait 2 more weeks before we can put the contract together.
Good
We have a
idea.
motion by Commissioner, Langford and a second by Commissioner Thomas to allow me to sign the paperwork needed to get the rest of the grant money. All those in favor?
I think the clerk got a question.
Should we do that subject to the attorney approval?
We can, yes, sir.
Subject to a county approval, is that okay with y'all?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
What was that total amount that
It was, $5,607,396.69.
I was speaking of the extra money that he.
No.
You want this copy? 400 and something thousand, right?
Yeah, 469, 399.69.
Okay.
Go ahead.
You can have that again.
No,
My next item is under number 7, road department, repair the rock crusher. As you know, we have one rented right now. We reached out to Finley Eastern, who is where we're renting the other one from, to basically rebuild the one we have, to put a new, Cat C9 engine in it, new clutch assembly, bearings, hoses, and to go through the machine completely. Basically, we will have a new machine. The warranty on the motor would be 2 years, 2,000 hours. Parts, 12 month, 12,000 hours, other than the motor, and then a 90-day bumper to bumper warranty back basically on it. So the price for this that they gave us was $115,635.72. In this machine, I know there's some things that they couldn't see till they get the motor pulled out, they get the transfer pulled out. I would recommend adding a 20% contingency to it. I don't think we'll need 20%, and just make the approval based on around $139,000 to repair this machine. Just so you got some comparisons, if we bought the machine that we're renting right now to use it, and it being a used rental machine, that machine is $630,000. If you bought that machine brand new, it's $680,000, and they can get started pretty quickly on it too.
Bobby, is this a sole source repair company?
There's 2 companies that do this that I've been able to find by talking to Ring Power and Cat and some of the people, because they don't do it. I couldn't get but one. This gentleman has been the only one, Finley, that would respond to us, come out and give us an estimate. And when we got a quote on the rental, the other company did give us a rental. Their rental on the same like machine was $45,000 a month, and these people were like $26,000 or $28,000 a month. So.
Bobby, I'd asked earlier about, well, I guess in the budget in the way of repairs in the road department, but specifically this probably is not in the budget.
No, sir, and we would still, we would pay for it out of the road department, if everything goes well, maybe we don't have to transfer funds, but there could be a possibility we do have to transfer funds, so.
You'll come back to us if we need to transfer
Oh,
funds.
yeah, that would
When-
have to come back to you.
When we originally rented from Finley, there was some sort of like they would give you a credit. Was that only on a purchase or?
They'll give you a credit only on a purchase, and it's for 3 months rental is all they'll give it to you for.
How long did we budget to rent at $26,000 a month? For
3 months,
3 months, so
we're gonna exceed that some.
that's,
This a 4 or 5 month repair thing, or is this?
They told like they could do this. They said, actually, these parts were available.
Oh, good.
So just once we give them the go ahead, and it will take 4 or 5 weeks to get all the parts in, but they thought like 60 days, they thought 90 at the most. So honestly, I feel like it's a pretty quick turnaround.
Yeah, anything within 3 months seems to.
and us
Can't hardly get a roof on a house.
crushing our rock saves us much more than buying our rock. Right.
Probably somewhere around $250 a load.
So I make a motion, we approve, this repair of our rock crusher
With the
With
contingency.
the 20%
with a 20% contingency.
for unforeseen
Thank you.
expenses. All right, we've got a
You got
motion.
Issue.
I mean, I don't have an issue with doing it for the contingency, but, their notes indicate that, some of these items could potentially be less. I guess they kind of give you the worst case scenario.
They did.
So my thoughts is it should end up being less than this.
So maybe do we need to continue it?
Well, what we don't want to do, if they get in, they find a broken housing or something that they
Yeah.
couldn't see, then we got to wait 2 weeks to come back in here to get that approved. So
That's
the
only-
hopes is we
30%
come back
only
less than
if needed.
115.
I mean, they
Yeah.
may
Correct.
make it for less.
Yeah, we're not going to spend it
And
unless.
that's the thing, I would hope, unless you have that worst case scenario, that this is actually gonna come in less than that, but.
All right, we've got a motion by Commissioner Smith to approve the $115,635.72 with a 20% contingency fund, if costs override this. Is there a second?
I would also add to that motion that that was the only responsive, party to the request for quotes on this.
Okay.
I would think we could probably, when we originally did this, we did this as an emergency purchase or emergency rental. And I mean, I could possibly tack that on that this is part of an emergency, repair.
I would agree with that.
Commissioner Smith, is
Yes,
it
sir.
okay that we add on the, an emergency, expense?
Yeah.
Got a second by Commissioner Thomas, to approve this. All those in,
Let me ask one question real quick. Bobby, we've rented it already for 3 months. Are we gonna
We're
rent
on
it?
our third month.
Are we gonna rent it another 3 months while they fix it? So we're gonna have a total rental of 6 months?
Yes, sir.
Could we do without it a month or two? And we couldn't haul rock if we did, right?
No, you'd be out of rock.
You don't think we have enough stockpiles?
We couldn't stock enough up, like, just,
Well, the reason I say that, if we rented it for 6 months, we're spending $120,000 rental. Of course, we're using it, we're crushing rock with it at the same time, but then the repair's only 115.
Well, what I did do, I can't remember the exact numbers, but, you know, when we came in and talked about the rental, even taking the rental out, we were saving something like $20-something thousand a month, even by paying the rental, that if we had to go out and start buying rock.
Right.
So it's a cost, yes, over owning the machine, but it's still a savings. And, right now, they're crushing rock, they're putting it out about as quick as they can crush it. I mean, do we have a little bit stockpiled? Yes, but do we have that would last us 2 or 3 months? We might have a week's worth, you know?
Okay.
okay, we have a motion, with the contingency. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed?
And just one more comment on that contingency. That's just for us internally. That's not something that we're offering up to them.
Yeah,
That's
you're
just
not gonna
if-
put
if
that on
something
the
came up we
contract.
didn't know,
That's
yeah.
just for us, if
Back up.
for some reason we need an
Right.
extra couple thousand, we don't have to come back to another meeting to decide it. Okay,
The next item is a letter of agreement with United Healthcare of Florida. These are letters that you've, signed in the past. I'm gonna let Chief Campbell explain if he doesn't mind. I think I'm pretty sure I know exactly what this is for, but I'll let him explain it.
Animal Fire Rescue. This is part of the BEMT program that we participate in each year. As y'all know, we sent we have a buy down price, we loaded $100,000 this year that we sent in. That money goes to ACA, and then the money that's refunded to us, which is, I think was gonna be a total of about $130,000 additional from what we'd already sent in, comes back from the different insurance companies. We just have to have a letter of agreement with them to receive the funds. So this is one of the companies that has not previously sent us funds in the past. I was trying to look up real quick to see exactly what their amount was gonna be, but this is money owed to us through that program. We just signed the agreement, and once that's finalized on their end, they'll go ahead and send us a check.
I always like getting checks. That's good.
Yeah, we have probably 10 of these out there already. This just happens to be, there's multiple different Medicaid, Medicare providers out there. This just happens to be one that we've not received funds from in the past. We may receive more of these. I think we have a total of 6 different entities that are gonna be sending us the money to total up to the over $200,000 we get back. So as soon as if they send any more in, I'll send them right back to y'all, but it'll be the same. The wording is exactly the same, they just changed the name in it, and this comes from the American Healthcare Association.
All right, thank you, Matt, very much. We have a motion to.
so moved.
All right, motion by Commissioner Sharon Langford to, approve the letter of agreement. Is there a second?
Second.
Got a second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
The next item on here is also under, EMS Fire, and it's a striker agreement in the amount of, $14,856.60. This is the annual agreement that we always sign that does the maintenance on our stretchers. This is budgeted. So, this is just our standard agreement for the price for the annual service.
Motion to approve. All right, we've got a motion by Commissioner Thomas to approve the Stryker, annual agreement. That Stryker is the company that we use as a, for our, what do they call those things they push in and out of the ambulance? Stretchers.
That's right.
So, we got a motion by Commissioner Thomas,
I'll second it.
second by Commissioner Langford. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
The next item I have is, on the, permitting rules. At our last, meeting, Commissioner Thomas asked us to bring back some of that information. What I'd like to recommend, we are working on putting that information together. I've spoken with Mr. Gene Stockman. I think it might be better if y'all would like, we just set up a workshop and have that information and bring it in a workshop. So maybe we could look at something about 30 days off or something. If, we can do it before a board meeting, you know, we could do it at 3 or before 4, or however y'all like to do it. If we need to have another one, I think it's gonna take a couple of workshops before we get through it, truthfully. So if everybody's in agreement with that,
Let me ask you this, Bobby, could you, and I sat down and talked to Gene some about it, can you separate it as best possible, what the state is, what the county is, and what we can do and what we can't do? 'Cause I know our state legislature, they're elected officials too, so, they answer to the public, but at the same time, there are certain things that the state sets, the guidelines, and then we have county rules. I'd like to know the difference in what Gene might even recommend that we do or don't do, because in talking with him, he said, yeah, there's some things you can change, but there's some things you can't change. And I know Gene is sticker on going by the book and doing it by the rules and all, and I agree with that, but at the same time, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time and then we get to the end and they say, well, you can't change that or you can't do nothing about that.
yeah.
You know,
But
if you could just detail it enough that we can kind of know what we're looking at, what we can do.
We'll
and
have
can't
the
do.
items that y'all have a decision over.
Sir?
We'll have the items that y'all have a
Yeah,
decision over
Right.
Okay.
and can make those decisions,
Right.
and then the other items,
We can look
They
at
are
them
what
and we
they
can
are.
talk to legislator about them, but there may not be nothing we
Right.
can do about it at the county
Right.
level.
but would you like to look at a date?
Yeah. Is our
I
first,
don't, Miss Sharon, what time is good? Is 3 o'clock okay for you?
What day are we looking at?
I was just thinking about our next meeting, what is that, November 4th?
Yeah, 3 o'clock will be fine.
If that work with
Can
you,
you
Mr.
get-
Clerk?
Can you get that together?
Well, no, not by November 4th. We have one on the 18th,
Yeah,
correct?
November 18th would be
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
next
let's look
meeting.
for November the 18th.
3 o'clock?
Okay.
If that works for
November
everyone.
the 18th.
November 18th at 3 o'clock?
Yes, sir.
3 o'clock.
What we'll do is just plan on having a 45. That gives everybody a 15-minute break before the meeting. And then if, I'm sure we're gonna have some more, have to set another one, but at least we'll have an idea. All right?
Bobby, can we, how can we best, get the word out to, contractors or that are interested and can come and participate? Can we send, other than just something in the newspaper, can we, is there anything else we can do?
We probably could search through and pull some emails and send those out. And, we can also just post a flyer in our office where we have people coming and going for that.
Okay.
And then we can push it out there.
Yeah, I mean, the newspapers, certainly we appreciate your help and other than, in addition to the legal notice, I guess is what I'm saying.
Maybe put it on our Facebook also?
But
Maybe put it on our Facebook also?
okay. Brandon just had a good suggestion, just add a flyer in our permits, so when they get a permit, there's a flyer in there. letting them
But
know.
post it also and put it on
Yes, ma'am,
Facebook.
we'll do all the social media.
Get emails also.
Yes, ma'am.
I would think it would be good to get some input from some contractors because they build in other counties and maybe they can make some recommendations for some guidelines that we might couldn't.
All the input you can get is always good.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Especially from the people who are affected by it.
That's right.
I think we have a 4:30 time, sir?
Yes.
Yep.
I got 1 minute. I'll go over something real quick. It wasn't on this is just FYI. The update today on 1020 for debris removal, just so you know what's going on. There's been 7,318 cubic feet removed. There has been hangers, this is the limbs hanging in trees. There's 2,455 of those cut and moved. And trees, actually leaner trees removed, 131. I've had a couple of questions on root balls, what they call root balls, the root's still there. They will be coming around to get those. They're monitored separate from the rest of the tree. I'm not sure why. But the DOT is really working this and it's working well. And, I think a few more trucks actually came in this week. As you know, with all the damage north of us, south of us, trucks are a little hard to get, but the pace may start picking up a little bit more.
They're doing state and county roads, right?
Yes, sir. We're doing all roads.
All roads.
No, not, state did their roads. We're only doing county roads, city roads, and town roads.
Okay.
And we,
Okay, well, now, is there any projected date when it'd be too late to put it out there? Cause I'm still having people ask me,
People are.
if I put it side the road, will they get it?
As if there's debris out by your road and they hadn't come by yet, then you get it out there before they come by. Cause they're actively working. I know that's not a good answer, but I can't really give you a date, you know?
Yeah.
Just tell them, hey, if you still got debris out there, please try to get it out there as soon as you can, because once they come by, they're not supposed to come back.
Okay, okay.
Bobby, do we have any local contractors, truckers interested, or can they participate?
We have given, we have made contact, I think, with 2 local people that have reached out. Now, there may be some more
Okay.
with, SDR, who is the one who handles all the contractors. I'm not sure if they were able to put anything together or not, but they may have. So we'd like to have like single trucks and
Yeah,
stuff.
Most of them boys are busy. They got all they can handle right now.
Yeah.
The state, though, we've contracted with the state to handle this
Mhm.
for us at no cost to us.
Correct.
Is the main reason they're doing it, right? Is
Right.
before we had done it previous storms, it cost how much?
I think the last storm we spent, yeah, $400,000 or $500,000. Yeah. It may, no, it's more than
It's
that.
more than that.
It was about $1 million, wasn't it?
Ralph,
million.
can-
Ralph
2 million?
Ralph is saying 2 million.
2 million? Ralph says 2 million.
He's probably, no, 500,000 is what we got back in the first check. Yeah.
So we could go hire somebody ourselves. It'd cost way more, and it could be faster, right? But
I don't know if it would
Won't be
be,
any
honestly, I don't know if it'd be any faster right now, because what the DOT does, which is really good, SDR is the person we have a contract with through our process. So we would be using SDR just like the DOT. So the process is really the same as if we were doing it. We just don't have to float the money and write the checks. And sometimes you only get 75% back. And this way we're getting 100%. We're not having to put out any of the county money that, you know, and when it's in the bank, it's drawing interest, and when it's not, it's not. And, the thing is though, is the DOT is handling this contract. So they tell them, you know, they're handling the regions and how they pick up and that type of thing. So
I think it'd be helpful. I know we're putting out some news release, but I'm getting some questions related to this and how quick is it gonna happen? Who's doing it? You know, those kind of things. And the more we can get the word out, it would help, I think.
I did get a call from a local citizen who has trailers and tractors and front end loaders, and wondered how he could get involved. And I said, well, we've got it through the state of, being run through the state of Florida. You need to contact,
well, if you want to give them the office number and tell them to reach out to us at the office, we'll give them the contact information for SDR. And then I don't know if they need any more help. You know, I know the insurance is pretty, because you're working on these roads, the insurance is sometimes 4 and 5 million, not $1 million. So, you know, let them contact
noticed
SDR.
in, Sarasota County, they had problems with overhead power lines. If there was an overhead power line, they didn't touch the trash. You'd go down this road and all the trash would be removed, but this one pile, and when you look at the pile up above, it was a power line. And I went, oh, okay, so I don't know if that affects people around here or not, but it's just a word of information, so.
They've done quite a bit within the cities with skid steers. So I think that might
Well, they
eliminate
just
it.
push it where they want it.
Well, they
can
pick
put
it up, back up, and,
Yeah.
you know, work it that way.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. All right, we do have a time certain at 4:30. Mr. Lang, are you gonna run this time certain for us?
No, Mr. Stubbs, our planner, is going.
All right, Mr. Stubbs, how are you today, sir?
Mr. Brandon, you ready?
I'm doing great. How are y'all doing?
Now,
I think a little bit later, but good evening, Chair, other members of the commission. Brandon Stubbs, planner for the county through contract with North Florida Professional Services. We've got two items for you this evening. The first one is a time certain, for the LDR text amendment. And I will say about your trash pickup, I know in Columbia County, anybody that met the requirements as far as the liability and all that, they can't get on the FEMA list to get reimbursed. But these contractors that are already certified, they can't hire them as a subcontractor. So if there are people that have the equipment, the insurance, and meet all the requirements, those companies are subcontracting out their work, and can get paid that way. Just for
Well, that's, I told them that when we weren't handling it, it would have to go through probably the Department of Transportation, but I don't know what they did with it, but
yeah, what they do is they put them in contract with the different
the
contractors.
contracted companies.
Mhm. Get to my ordinance heading here. It's that long one, so got two long ordinance headings to read now. So the item before you this evening is the second reading and the final reading for, LDC 2023-02, which is ordinance number 2024-06. If it's the pleasure of this commission, I'll read by title only. Ordinance number 2024-06, an ordinance of Gilchrist County, Florida, amending ordinance number 93-01, the Gilchrist County Land Development Code as amended, relating to an amendment to the text of the Gilchrist County Land Development Code pursuant to an application LDC 2023-02 by the Board of County Commissioners, amending section 2.01.05 entitled Definitions, amending section 2.05.02 entitled Uses Permitted Only with Special Use Permit, amending section 2.06.02 entitled Uses Permitted Only with a Special Use Permit, amending section 4.03.01 entitled Traffic Circulation, amending section 5.01.08 entitled Definitions, amending section 6.06.01 entitled Generally, amending section 7.01.01 entitled Generally, amending section 7.11 entitled Home Occupations, amending section 7.12.01 entitled Definitions, amending section 7.14.04 entitled Nonconforming Uses, amending section 7.15.04 entitled Animal Density, amending section 7.17.02 entitled Standards, amending section 7.20 entitled Setback Areas, amending section 7.22.03 entitled Supplemental Standards, amending section 7.25 entitled Recreational Vehicles, amending section 8.03.06 entitled Standards for Conditional Use Permit, amending section 8.04.01 entitled Definitions, amending section 8.04.02 entitled Standards, amending section 8.06.03 entitled Locations, amending section 9.01.01 entitled Permit Required, amending section 9.01.05 entitled Definitions, amending section 9.03.02 entitled Specifically, amending section 10.02 entitled Definitions, amending section 10.07.04 entitled Modified Procedures for Lot Split, amending section 12.01.02 entitled Authorization Required for All Development, amending section 12.08.02 entitled Certificate of Zoning Compliance, providing for severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict, and providing for an effective date, And this is the last, and final reading of ordinance number 2024-06 by title only.
Okay,
And,
a lot of amendments.
and if there's anything specific, but I think we've been through this in detail enough, I'll say all the changes, but if you do have any questions, I'll be happy to
Have we
answer.
received any comments from the public related to the first?
No, sir. I have not heard any, or had any comments or public contact me.
We have.
All right, so you're amending, I looked at this, you're amending 2.06.02. It says under quotation, solar farms may be permitted in agricultural 2 land use districts only. So are you changing that, or are you leaving it A2 only? I know the special use permit,
I think that's on the next one that we're going into, which will be,
the title is uses permitted only with special use permit. I know we changed that somewhere down the line, but if you go further down, it says solar farms may be permitted in A2 land use districts only. And the next one says self-storage facilities. Self-storage facilities may be permitted in A2 land use districts only. So if it's A3, they couldn't allow a solar farm or a self-storage,
Well, self-storage can be on commercial too.
industrial.
No, you're not making that change, I
Yeah.
don't think.
Well, and solar farms can be on
Page 8.
industrial.
Page 8, Caitlin, if you can go to page
Yeah.
8.
yeah, those are, uses permitted only with a special use permit. But,
I thought you
The
could do
reason-
solar on industrial.
okay, so.
She's
these
got,
are- yeah.
go down a little bit further, maybe. she's
So,
got it right.
so these are two separate amendments, and I know it's kind of confusing, but I didn't want to put amendments in the next one that were in here. So we, in the next one, the ordinance that is going to be heard after this, those are gonna change. So in the A, if you look at what's the next, it's ordinance
07.
yeah, 07, on the 2.01, solar facilities are taken, and put into the uses permitted without special use permit. But, we weren't changing that as part of this, because it's a separate amendment. So we have to keep everything the same as it is in LDRs unless we're changing it on here. But what's gonna change is when we adopt this next ordinance, it's actually gonna affect this right here. Understand? So this, I know it's kind of weird, but.
Well, I went back into, I've looked back into looking at what we had and what we changed in
Mhm.
ordinance 06 and ordinance 07. I was trying to, see the difference, but I didn't, somehow I didn't pick up on
Got
it.
it, neither.
Yeah, so basically the difference is 2.0602 will, the solar farm is gonna be deleted, but it's gonna be put in 2.0601. So if you look at that on the next amendment, 2.0, it adds it as item F, solar facility.
Brandon, can I
We
ask?
shall allow them in all ag categories as well as industrial.
Even A1.
That's correct.
What I understood from last time was the main intent here was to bring our LDRs and be consistent with chapter 163.3205 related to solar facilities. And
So
so,
the 2024-07, the next amendment, that's correct. Everything done there was to bring it in compliance with Florida statute.
so anything that we're changing here related to our local development regulation is because of and be consistent with that statute. Is that?
Correct, the solar farms,
Okay.
It's also a culmination of that year we spent going through these land development codes,
yeah.
where we took the board input, on things that we could legally change that you wanted to put in.
Are we being more lenient on the Florida statute? Because I don't want to be more lenient on the,
No, we're actually being about as stringent as we can.
Okay.
under
so
statute.
we're allowing it everywhere that Florida statute says we can allow it. So
Correct.
we're not adding additional places.
No,
I
no,
just
it's
want to make sure.
just the two, which Florida statute says agricultural and industrial, we cannot.
That's what
deny.
the statute says.
Correct.
Okay.
So we can't limit in industrial?
Because I don't
In
wanna
the one-
go-
In the next one that's being approved, it still has special use permit in there.
Yeah, I'm sorry, yes, there's something, hold on, let me pull
The statute says they're allowed in all ag, uses. Ag-
it.
Right,
Yeah,
all
that's
ag,
categories, that's
but
what-
not
It
industrial.
doesn't say industrial. That's probably why Brandon has that in the
Yeah,
industrial.
I think,
Yeah.
I think originally it was, yeah, so.
In 2.11.02, it says use is permitted only with special use permit.
Mhm.
And then subsection F is solar facilities.
I guess what I'm saying is I'm looking at the ordinance that you just read, and it
Right,
says,
so
in,
the ag would be the only area that we cannot like preempt them in. So the other area would be a special use permit in ag, I mean, not ag, but industrial. So, I mean, you don't have to allow them in industrial, but it would be a special use permit, would be a case by case basis in the industrial classification, which Gilchrist don't really have too much ag or industrial, to begin with, but
Very limited industrial in this
Yeah.
county areas.
very, very limited, but
Even
if
with
they
special-
did, were able to find an industrial piece, they would have to get a special use permit, which would be subject to the board's approval.
what I'm trying to point out though is, in this ordinance that we're fixing to vote on,
Correct, 2024.
on 2.2, and let me see what page number it is. Okay, if you go to page number 7, it says 2.06.02, uses permitted only with special use permit.
Correct,
The following uses are allowed within A2, A3, A4, and A5, and then it goes down and says that
in
solar
them,
farms may be permitted in A2 land use districts only.
correct. That's already in the code. And so
Okay.
what I was trying to get at earlier is, we didn't change that in this code, in this
Okay.
ordinance, because that wasn't a proposal in this ordinance. The ordinance that we're going to next
The 07?
will change that. So,
Okay,
yeah, it does read that in this ordinance because we're not changing it in this ordinance. That's what's already in the code. When we get into 2024-07, that's what changes that section. To make it where, agricultural is a permitted use in any ag.
so we're passing one and we're gonna turn around and change it?
Correct,
Yep.
because they were separate. And here's the reason why.
Okay,
These were all amendments done by this commission. When y'all sat down for the last year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah.
And y'all went through the LDRs, these were all text amendments that were proposed by y'all. When we initiated the solar farm amendments, they were kind of initiated by a third party, not by this commission. So we couldn't incorporate them into what the commission was already doing because it was a separate request. Now, there's been a little bit of controversy, and I don't know if Mr. Lane wants to go into that, or if he wants me to explain it. It doesn't matter, whichever. he
Well,
prefers.
when we get to
Yeah,
that
we'll
one,
get to that.
yes.
But because they were separate requests, one was by y'all, one was by a third party, we couldn't commingle the two ordinances into one. That's why they're still separate.
I see here you have on the, 07, you have section 2.06, and you have, uses permitted without special use permit, and the F is solar facilities. Which
Correct.
they
That's
quit
correct.
calling them solar farms, and now they call them
Solar
solar facilities.
facilities, yes, sir. And that's to keep with this, state statute language, I mean, so. I know it's confusing, but it's a strategic purposely written that way. It kind of seems, I know, a little odd because you're adopting something that looks like you're adopting one thing here and then turn around and re-adopting something different. But it's because this is already written in your code and we weren't changing it with this ordinance, we're changing it with the next.
And what he's doing is bringing the code in compliance with your comprehensive plan that's already been adopted.
Yeah,
Okay.
We've already done this in the comp plan. Now you're putting it in the code, which is your code.
Well, my hope is that Florida legislature, through the Florida Association of Counties will come up with some language and give us more of a home rule on the solar farms of how many are we gonna allow, or how many can we allow, and where they're gonna put them and all this kind of stuff, because right now, the home rule is just done away with. I mean, even our land development regulations, we pass a land development regulation, but they tell us how to do it.
Exactly, and unfortunately, the state has done that with several major uses throughout the years. Recently, I think there's been several different preemptions, that the state has done. They're like, oh, well, we figure this is bigger than local government, and they think that and it's kind of backwards of, what we consider, they consider to have a conservative legislator up there, but at the same time, they're preempting local governments from being able to regulate the counties and cities how they see fit, which kind of backwards if you ask me. I do believe in the home rule, and I do believe that counties should be able to regulate these issues, but the state, there's many lobbyists, and who knows, what kind of kickbacks they're getting for allowing that stuff, but, it's unfortunate.
Yeah, well, it just bothers me that, I mean, they could come up this year and say, we want 10 more solar farms, and I don't know how this board could say no. I mean, I really don't. And you're taking, they're buying land, they rent some, they buy some, and then they're, converting it to solar farms, and it takes it out of ag. And, they haven't convinced me of any agricultural product that solar farms produce. And plus, we're not reaping the benefits of the solar farm. That electricity is going on the grid, and we may be furnishing electricity for Disney World and the villages at our expense of giving up our ag land. And that bothers me a lot.
State statute, the tax statute allows them to write off pretty much most of the equipment out there, so you're not really getting any tax benefit from it either. So it's a loose situation for the county as a whole.
Well, they get an 80% tax break.
Exactly.
And if you want to produce electricity for Disney World, buy you some land down there around Disney World and furnish all they want, but they're using our land to furnish electricity for other people.
This is the only place they can buy it and buy it cheap.
Exactly, but they're buying our agricultural, I don't eat solar farms,
Yeah.
but they're buying our ag land to produce electricity for the big dogs, and they're getting it at a cheap price, and then they're gonna own it, and they're talking about returning it to its natural state. Well, if we don't own it, it don't matter what they turn it into, if they own it.
Right.
We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. I just wanted to make sure that I was looking at something that we had the language right, and we come back and say, oh, we didn't word that right, or we didn't say that right.
Yeah,
Because I'm reading two different pictures here, but now that you're saying what you're saying is, we're not changing that, but we are changing that one to make that happen.
And there's a strategic reason why we're adopting this one first,
Exactly.
not the other
I
way.
see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
All right,
Yeah.
Motion to approve ordinance 2024-06.
all right, I got a motion to approve ordinance 2024-06.
Second.
Got a second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor of approving this
Do you
ordinance?
need to ask public
Oh,
Yeah,
participation?
so-
Okay. Is there any public participation involved in this ordinance change? Okay. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
All right, the next item before you is LBC 2024 dash, excuse me. I'm wrong.
LDC 2024-01.
Yes, sir. Okay. Okay, there we go. LDC 2024-1, ordinance number 2024-07.
Correct.
I'll read it by title only. Ordinance number 2024-07, an ordinance of Gilchrist County, Florida, amending ordinance number 93-01, the Gilchrist County Land Development Code as amended, relating to an amendment to the text of the Gilchrist County Land Development Code pursuant to an application LDC 2024-01 by Mark W. Shelton and Kimberly Horn on behalf of Florida Power and Light Company, recommending to the Board of County Commissioners of Gilchrist County, amending section 2.04.01 entitled Uses permitted without a special use permit, amending section 2.05.01 entitled uses permitted without a special use permit, amending section 2.06.01 entitled uses permitted without a special use permit, amending section 2.11.02 entitled uses permitted only with a special use permit, amending section 6.05.03 entitled buffer zones, and amending section 7.26 entitled solar farms, providing for severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict, and providing for an effective date. Now, I will go over, because there were some changes in this ordinance based upon what was adopted at the last meeting. And those, those four changes were under section 7.26.03. The board recommended that we amend the 12-month, procurement process for, buffer plantings to 24 months, so we changed that. And then the second thing was we took out the the notice of general circulation, but we increased the, amount of area they had to go from 400 to 800 feet for the mail notices.
Right.
So that's the only changes, that were done from last reading to this reading, and that was based upon y'all's motion. So this, again, is the second final reading of, ordinance 2024-07. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Just let me speak at this point about, there's an error in the title. It's advertised exactly like it was presented to you, Brandon, but I've had conversations with, Mr. Scott Holtz with the, Florida Power and Light Company. He's the principal attorney there. And, apparently there was an error made in the application that was submitted, in that although there was a letter that was submitted to you that you based your advertising on that stated it was made on behalf of Kimberly Horn and Florida Power and Light. In fact, Florida Power and Light, their attorney advises me, they were not an applicant in this process, so they don't need to be included as an applicant. But I think, based upon my understanding of our conversation, Kimberly Horn could remain as the applicant, or it could be the county could remain as the applicant, because the substance of the ordinances are not interfered with in any manner by that title, only who was the applicant that was brought. So I just think when you get up there to that second part, right after it talks about the application LDR 2024-01 by Mark W. Shelton of Kimberly Horn, I believe that Florida Power and Light wants to be stricken as an applicant, where it states on behalf of Florida Power and Light Company.
Correct, and
And with that change, there's nothing else changed in the entire ordinance that you have prepared.
correct, and that's based upon communication that we've had with, Bobby, Mr. Lane, FPNL, and Kimberly Horn. There was a document that was submitted with a letter saying that there was an application being made, and that was what was provided for me for the text amendment that we did. But they had requested that they weren't going to be the applicant, but they had submitted the application or the letter requesting these amendments. So that's where all this had come from. But I think what we're requesting is that board strike, basically the applicant and say, okay, we're going to take over this application as a county and, approve it with the subject that the heading will change that the applicant.
Or alternatively, Brandon, the application could be, continue on by Mark W. Shelton of Kimberly Horn.
Correct.
You're just gonna remove Florida Power and Light?
That's the biggest issue.
That's what
yeah.
they want to do, because they said they're not an applicant in this process right here. And those representatives are here tonight.
Now, I let Mr. Shelton speak
I think
about
Mr.
that.
Shelton's here, and also the attorney, I think Mr. Holtz is here as well.
Come on up and tell us your.
Good evening, Mark W. Shelton, from Horn Associates. I initiated this little error. It was, my fault. I work for, Florida Power and Light and Florida Renewable Partners under the NextEra umbrella. and I left Florida Power and Light on this, so, I'm fessing up to my mistake. And, Mr. Holtz is here also to reiterate, about Florida Power and Light.
Good evening, Scott Holtz on behalf of Florida Power and Light, and I just wanted to say that, Mr. Lang, absolutely correctly encapsulated or summarized our previous conversations, and we very much appreciate his efforts and Mr. Crosby's efforts and Brandon's efforts to rectify this error. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
And as Brandon pointed out, the couple of changes that you discussed at the last meeting were the fact that you wanted, notice to be given to 800 feet from the property line itself.
Right.
But they weren't required to post that in the newspaper where the entire world would be notified, you know what I'm saying? Because that could just become overburdensome with the number of people that could show up. And also, the buffer zones were, changed to, be in place, growing vibrant within 24 months, I believe. Is that correct, Brian?
And we were changing that for every special use permit, not just this one.
Yeah, that section will be changed because of where it's located. Yep.
For every special use
Yeah,
permit.
because remember y'all said by the time it gets planted and the year is fizzled, it's not started growing yet.
Right.
It's not accomplishing anything.
It's supposed to reach 6 foot within 24 months.
That's right.
Mhm.
All right.
And I guess if it didn't, we could make them replace it. And
Well,
it
that's
also says that it has
That's a requirement on it.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
a decommissioning plan. So the ones we have now, they have a decommissioning plan on file, exactly what they're gonna do?
Yes,
They do?
yeah, all of them
Okay. I'll need to take a look.
recorded in the official records.
I'd like to take a look at that one day.
Yeah. Any additional questions?
Nope. Yep. All right, is any comment from come on up and,
Jeff Hart, son of a visiting journalist. Just a question, and it's really kind of for Mr. Lang. If it's okay for me to ask your attorney a question.
Don't make it too hard there.
This is relatively easy, and I think you may even laugh. So then this would be thought of as a scrivener's error, this sort of filing light, take it out, keep that good.
You can refer to it as a scrivener's error. Actually, it was just an error. They should not have been
Regular
included.
error by that gentleman there.
They should not have been included as an applicant to begin with.
Thank you.
all right, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve ordinance 2024-07.
With the,
change.
with the noted changes of removing Florida Power and Light Company?
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
I got a motion by Commissioner Thomas, a second by Commissioner Smith to approve ordinance 2024-07, with the noted change of removing, Florida Power and Light, from the, reading of the ordinance. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right.
For the- I would just like to say, referring back to Mr. Shelton, it was an error that was submitted on his behalf, not my error.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
For
Don't wanna
Brand-
think you messed
Brandon,
up,
in the
I
ordinance,
understand.
other than the title on page 2 at section 1, it references FPL as well, and we'll take that.
Yeah, yes, sir, I'll make sure. to correct all that.
We forgive both of you.
Yes, yeah.
And Lang didn't have anything to do with it.
No. All right. Okay, we've, finished the time certain. We will move back to the, I believe we're at the attorney's report number 10. Thank you, guys. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First thing I have up is email correspondence from Phyllis Marty, Career Source Chief Executive Officer, dated October the 1st, 2024, to Commissioner Langford with a summary of the newly designated area, LWDP, that's Local Workforce Development Board 26, with a request that Gilchrist County enter into the interlocal agreement. That letter, if you'll look at the summary, and of course, I'm by no means an expert on this. Ms. Langford is. She's been involved with this for a long time. But it says, here's a brief summary. Earlier this year, CSNCFL, they're famous for acronyms too, I've noticed. It's real. That means the Career Source North Central Florida, which refers to the council. They applied for certification and designation for LWDP 26, and on June 18th, 2024, the Career Source Florida Board approved the designation. Florida Commerce issued a letter on June the 28th, 2024, authorizing the currently composed DCWDC to oversee the newly designated area of LWDB 26. And they got some more acronym letters there. To act as the regional board for the new area, and for Alachua County to act as the fiscal agent for the new area until the interlocal agreement is executed on behalf of the county. Then on July the 24th, CSNCFL onboarded 16 former LWDP staff, 7 staff members, and continued services to customers in all 6 counties, and staff training is still ongoing to ensure a smooth transition moving forward. What all that means in a nutshell is that they didn't like the way that Region 7 and Region 9 were operating, and the state of Florida, Department of Commerce and Career Source got together, and we negotiated with them, tried to work it out to keep our region intact. But at the end of the day, we were overpowered essentially. They want Alachua County to be the fiscal agent, the party in charge, and there will be a representative from each of the 6 counties that makes up the overall board. And then on the local boards, there will be 19 members. Of course, Alachua County gets 6 members and all the other counties get 1, but then Alachua County gets to appoint 5 additional representatives,
These
making
are
up
for
the 19.
the workforce and the ones that are mandated.
That's correct. That's absolutely correct. And the old Career Source Board is now defunct, and it'll go out of existence, and it'll all be managed through Alachua County. And initially, we were real resistant to that because we thought they'd overpower us. The thing about it is they have staff and management to be able to maintain it and keep it up to federal, state standards that apparently they had some difficulty doing before. So,
And this is something the state with the REACH Act, that I believe it's called the REACH Act, they consolidated several regions, and we happen to be one of those, so they
and we can do one or two things. We can either agree to enter into the interlocal agreement or not participate in it at
And I would
all,
like for our citizens to be
which would
served.
deprive your citizens from the right to be participating.
And like I said, Mr. Larry Thompson has agreed to serve on that as the, work
Representative from,
for the work for the
Gilchrist
business.
County is entitled to appoint 1 member in that local workforce board.
And I'll still be on that board.
You'll be.
And they don't call it consortium, so I gotta figure out what the new word is, but I'll be the representative. Representing.
Wouldn't that give Alachua County kind of a monopoly though, if they've got 6 and can appoint 5 more, that's 11
It-
people.
it
that they
does.
have in their
Yes.
favor.
But
It does, but what are you gonna do about it? You're either gonna enter it or you're not gonna enter this agreement.
But the county commissioners will be 1 from each county, and we,
Yeah.
right.
But if they picked the 5 people they wanted that was on their side, that would vote their way, they got 11 votes out the gate.
On the local workforce board, but then your big council or your county commissioners that could overrule the way
Yeah,
that's
so-
being run at the lower level.
Right.
That's my
But it's still gonna
understanding.
be equal voting for
Because
us.
you each have 1
Yeah.
vote.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Alachua County. will
And
have
that's something we
1
wanted.
vote,
We wanted 1 vote per county, and that's what we got.
And what
So
they've
Alachua
done
County
is.
have.
Right, but they're gonna have
everybody
more,
still got-
they're gonna have more workforce board members,
Okay.
but,
But they can't all vote.
but our,
1 vote.
well, at the consortium, and I'm calling it the consortium, the commissioners, we have to ultimately approve the final budget. We're having 1 vote
Okay.
per,
And Alachua County gets 1 on that.
yes, but their actual workforce board, they're gonna have more because they have more businesses. They have, more population, so they are gonna have more workforce board members.
So you're recommending that we.
I would recommend us, because I don't want to, I want our
We can,
citizens.
and if we don't like it, we can withdraw with
Yeah, we
180 days prior written notice.
Yep.
We don't know how it's gonna shake out with.
No, I would like, I
with-
mean,
With
yeah.
Region 7 and Region 9, how they're gonna wind up their final affairs there, what kind of.
I don't
money-
want to just lose our services for our citizens, so I would like for us to enter into this and then, if
No,
it's something we don't,
they do good work.
Yeah.
They do good community. I've seen their.
And they have all kinds of training programs.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's kind of it in a nutshell, based upon my limited understanding of this thing, but I have read the interlocal agreement. And I did note that we can get out of it with 6 months advance written notice if we don't like it. the alternative is that if we don't join it, our citizens are deprived of being able to participate
So
as members in that.
so do we have a 6 month trial error to see how it's gonna go?
No, we can get out at any,
No, but I'll tell you what I would say.
at any
I
time.
would say, if you choose to pass this subject to approval by all the other counties joining in.
So we ain't just left holding the bag?
Left holding the bag.
Yeah.
Before, it was a region made up of Alachua and Bradford. Apparently, they got along good. And ours was, help me out, Sherry.
Okay, Dixie,
Union?
Gilchrist, Columbia,
Columbia, Dixie, Gilchrist, Union.
yes. Mhm.
That was ours.
Mhm.
Now they're merging those together based upon the governor's order. for them to
Right.
Do that, so, but they give you the alternative of getting in it or getting out of it, so.
Well, I'll make a motion, we approve the interlocal agreement based on the fact that all the other counties join in also.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Langford,
I second it.
a second by Commissioner Sharon Langford to approve the new
Interlocal agreement.
interlocal agreement based on what all the other if all the other counties will join in and do this. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, motion passes.
And what I'd recommend to Mr. Newton is when we get ready to send this, we'll send the one that we sign over there, but we'll have a little cover letter that says this is sent specifically contingent upon final approval by all the other counties, and we want a fully executed version sent back to us.
Right.
Next thing I have up is the contract for the culvert repair on 337 with, Wilk Site Prep. You'll recall, you approved that at the last meeting, and I reduced that to an agreement, an independent contractor agreement between the owner and contractor. The amount of the bid by Mr. Wilkes was $116,908.94. The contract needs to have, at Article 3, we'll need a commencement and completion date inserted. We also need a copy of Wilk Site Prep license that he has as Exhibit C. And we also need copies of his current general liability and work comp coverage to be plugged in at Exhibit C and D. So with that being said, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have, but that's a standard contract we've utilized previously.
And so this is replacing the culvert. Will there be an engineer present to make sure?
Yes, CEI will be there.
All right,
And was this was not in the budget, right? So we'll have to do
Yeah.
a budget amendment at some point.
I couldn't hear you, Mr. Smith. What?
he asked if it was in the budget, and then he knows it's not, that we're gonna have to eventually.
Something we're gonna have to do.
Might be something we have to go into general fund to get. All right. All right, do we have a motion?
So moved.
All right, we have a
Second.
motion to approve, Wilkins Site Prep. We have a motion by Commissioner Langford, a second by Commissioner Smith,
With the inclusion of those 3 items that I said need to be in there.
with the inclusion of the 3 items stated earlier. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right,
This, this job will probably start on Wednesday or Thursday of this week. There will be some full road closures for some time. They do have a,
we have an alternate way in and
Yes.
out.
yes, and I've even
Will you
talked
let
to
the
some
people
of the,
know out there?
I've also talked to some of the people who live out there, and they're just glad they're getting the culverts fixed. They said it's very easy. I also have reached out to the bus garage, so if there's any issues there, so all of that's been taken care of and handled, so.
All right, good deal. Clerk's report?
Mhm.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The item in my report today is for the postage machine. We've utilized the same postage machine for the past 10 years. Contract for the lease ends at the end of this year. And as part of the changes, the Postal Service actually has basically made our postage machine obsolete. There's a new requirement. It's called intelligent mail indicia. And our current machine is not compliant with that. So
It's
basically,
artificial intelligence, basically.
something along those lines. Basically, our machine will not provide what's required by the Postal Service as of January 1st. We're good through the end of this year, but it also just so happens our lease ends as of January 1st. Been in contact with Quadient, who's our current provider, as well as Pitney Bowes. They're both on the state contract. I'm recommending that we stick with our current provider, which is Quadient. And I'm actually asking that the board approve moving to the what it's called an IX7 mailing system. This is the comparable machine to what we currently have, but will just get us into compliance with the Postal Service. My recommendation is actually that we go ahead and purchase the unit. The current mailing machine that we use, we've had for 10 years. We haven't had any issues with it. It's been a very good machine. If we go with the IX7, again, it's very comparable to what we currently have. However, if we go ahead and purchase it, I believe it will save us money in the long run, as opposed to doing a lease. As I mentioned, we've had this machine for almost 10 years at the end of this year. And we have been leasing it for the entire 10 years. Had we gone ahead and purchased it initially, we would have cost savings. So my recommendation would be for us to go ahead and purchase it. Just to give you an indication, if we were to purchase it over the next 5 years, we would save around $3,000 over that time period. If we're able to keep that unit for an additional 5 years after that, we'd end up saving a total of a little over $15,000 over that additional time period.
By using the machine, do you get a reduced mailing rate?
You do. You get a reduced mailing rate. This unit actually does have something different than our current. They call it Smart, which is basically allows you to get additional discounts for like priority mail flat rate, like when you send the big envelopes. They're indicating that we would save around $78 a month by having that Smart system in place because of the additional discounts that we would receive. So again, my recommendation would be for us to purchase the new mail system unit. There are some additional costs that would continue after the purchase. There's a meter rental, which is $82 a month, and that's basically required by the Postal Service. If we lease it, that is actually included in the lease amount, but if we purchase it, we do still have to pay that in addition. As well as there's a maintenance fee after the first year of $1,956, which we would pay over the life of the lease, or not the lease, over basically until we discontinue that unit. And there's also a $180 annual software support fee. So again, there are some additional costs that we still do have to pay if we purchase it, but those figures I included in the amount of savings that I was just referring to.
All right.
Yeah, it says here the reduced priority flat rate envelopes by $1.35 and priority mail express envelopes by $4.10, plus it corrects the addresses and turnarounds and stuff like that. So
Correct, which also should create some savings, so we're not
remailing it.
sending out mail that is going to be returned.
Yeah.
In addition to that, it doesn't state this in there, but you do also get the additional discount for just your standard postage.
And brings you in compliance.
And brings us in compliance. Bottom line is we're required to do something. This would be my recommendation to kind of get us in compliance as well as update our unit. So.
All right. All right, do we have a motion to,
Motion to approve. Second.
all right, we got a motion by Commissioner Thomas and a second by Commissioner Langford to, buy the updated postage machine, to update us, to keep us in compliance. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed? All right, motion passes.
The only thing I hate about technology is it changes so rapidly.
Well,
so
that's,
quick.
that's the thing, if you buy it and then 5 years they come with an update, then,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, you're in a,
We bought a copier at the church,
yeah,
and now they're saying, we can't get parts for it anymore, it's obsolete.
yeah.
Well,
In other words, they want you to buy a new copy.
Yeah, exactly.
like I say, the main reason I'm recommending the purchase on this as opposed to the lease is, we have had this current unit for 10 years.
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
had we purchased it initially, it would have saved us a lot of money.
you'd be lucky if you'd have kept this one for 10 years, the way technology changes, but
We'll,
we'll go.
we'll see. I'm hopeful that we will.
All right, well, thank you very much. All right, the last is, for your information, is, fuel cost. You click on that, it shows you, what we've been paying for diesel and unleaded gas. Is there any comments that go along with that?
No, sir. I just provided that for your information, just so you can see where we're
Diesel's
at.
down quite a bit.
Yeah, diesel is down quite a bit, and,
Gas too.
gas is down just a little bit too, even though it did go way up. It, is coming back down, so.
Must be election year.
Must be election year or something, I guess. That would be my guess too. As soon as the election's over,
But I
you
think,
better have your tanks full and your, storage units full,
I
so.
think there was a tremendous saving by putting in that fuel depot there when we did that. I think that saved the county a lot of money.
Yeah.
If you look at retail versus what we buy for it.
Okay. Awesome. All right, well, hopefully it'll keep going down or stay steady anyway. All right. Any other comments with that? All right, we'll move on to, Commissioner's report. Ms. Sharon?
Okay, yeah. First thing, the rodeo arena. If the alumni wants to use it, who did they go through?
Probably best thing to do is let them call me and let me get with them.
Cause they've been trying to get a hold of, is it,
Young.
Jason?
Mhm.
Jason, yeah.
And they're not getting nowhere, so I'll tell them to call you.
Just tell them to call me.
And, isn't it, don't they get to use it like,
2 weeks,
One time,
huh?
2 weeks.
Okay.
I think.
Now, they wanna know, also the alumni, they wanna know like what the process is, like, is there any way we could could both of the Trenton and Bell alumni, like, get that back, or how would that work?
Well, what they would have to do is come to, probably put together a letter or proposal to want to take it back. And then they would need to come to y'all as a board and make that presentation. And then y'all would have to decide whether you want to give it back or not.
So a letter or proposal and bring it to the board?
Mhm.
Okay. I was approached on what that would, you know, what they
You'll
need.
recall, when we tried to keep it up, it was very difficult. and to
Right,
get
but
it
yeah, I
together.
had some people approach me, wanted to know what it would take if the
Yeah.
alumni
It
got
just-
it.
And management.
when the alumni owned it, it was a lot of upkeep.
And
I knew I
management
was the upkeeper.
and coordinating everything. is a
Exactly.
Job.
Yeah.
Next thing, I don't know, a couple meetings ago, I mentioned whenever we call in a work order, I want to be notified. And I think the other commissioner said that was a good idea. And when a work order gets complete,
Okay.
I would like to be notified because, that way I know if it's been done or not.
Okay.
That would be helpful. Also, I said I bring it up, I just want to make sure they pick up the debris in Wani.
Mhm.
I want to make sure the ditches get dug out on 337. The work order's been in for 17 months now.
Well, that's part of what they'll be doing
But
here.
I just want to
with
make
this
sure
job.
that gets done.
Mhm.
Also, I know I've been talking to Rodney about that zipper machine. I want us to, as soon as we can get new employees hired, I want us to use that machine we bought. And, Spring Ridge, what's the update on that, Mr. Crosby? Did you ever meet with the contractor yet?
Yes, we finally got to meet Mr. Gray and, his, I don't know if Mr. Gray is going or Kevin, who, monitors for him. He's gonna go out and they were gonna write it. They may already have, but they're gonna write down where they recommend that we can reduce the price. Spoke to Mr. Jim Meredith this morning. Once they get that information, then we are planned to meet on site so that we can actually see. I spoke to Commissioner Tommy Langford also, and told him we'd let him know when that meeting is. So once they get through evaluating that, making recommendations, then we'll meet on site to see if there's any other savings or whatever that can come from that.
And I think Wednesday, when I talked to Mr., when I had talked to Mr. Rodney, he said he didn't know if that, stuff had came in yet to fill in those holes yet, that bag, that,
It came in today and they're
Okay.
starting in the morning.
good deal. So they're gonna start.
It may have came in Friday, but they're
Right, so
starting.
yeah,
in the
he was thinking it was coming in last week, so,
morning.
so they'll start patching some of those holes then?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, that's it.
All right, Commissioner Smith?
I don't have anything.
All right, Mr. Langford?
They're finishing up 47. They, restriped it, put up brand new signs all the way up and down. Working on the bridge down there, putting up new guardrail. It's gonna be a fantastic highway when they get through it, and they're almost through. They're painting some of the final turn lanes and all, as I was coming to town today. The Dollar General had a little slowdown, but, I stopped and talked to them, and they're speeding it up a little bit now. Matter of fact, this last week, they worked out there all week long and worked out there yesterday. Weren't out there today, but, they got a lot going on, so, we just gonna have to be a little more patient with them, but, it's coming. Not soon enough for most people, but it'll be good for the community. It'll be excellent for the community, but, that's all I have. I'm ready for 138 to be done, but that's in the works.
All right, Mr. Thomas?
For you, there's something about the board from Flower. Who it is?
Just see me.
Will you send us an email or text?
What did he say?
What was your question, Keith?
We use small bits of flowers.
Oh, okay,
Oh, okay.
okay.
Let us know how much we owe you.
Yeah.
You see.
No, I'll be glad to.
Yeah, you're exempt from it.
I appreciate everything y'all do, I believe.
All right, anything else, Mr. Thomas?
That's it.
All right, I just want to say how blessed we are in Gilchrist County. I spent, one day in Hillsborough County helping some friends clean up from the, storm surge, and I spent 3 days in Sarasota helping, them clean up from the storm and the storm surge, and, all the people that got hit by the storm surge, it was, devastating. But luckily inland, most of the damage was rooftops and outbuildings and things such as that. So, but hopefully for this year, and I know there's still another month left of hurricane season, but hopefully at this point in time, we're not gonna get any more, at least I hope so. I have had a lot of comments, positive comments about cleanup crews coming through and how quickly they got through and clear the roads and every comment I had was positive, and so that's good. The community came together and helped, and so everything's good, and I'm ready to move back to somewhat, I don't know what you call normal anymore, but to slow down anyway from that.
I do have two more things I want to say. I was talking to an electrical guy yesterday that's been working on the electrical lines. He said the storm surge at Cedar Keys, they ran into salt water 9 miles before they got to Cedar Key, all the way out to Rosewood, salt water. That's a long ways. That's a lot of water. But people are fortunate. Some
At
of
the one last year, the water came all the way to the water tower at Horseshoe, and this last one, Helena, it was probably 3/4 of a mile past the water tower. So it was, I know people that live a couple miles out of town that had standing water in their yard. So,
And
How did your oysters make out?
oh, I don't have any orchards anymore. Yeah.
The other
Not-
thing
not to speak of anyway.
The other thing I want to say is, there's still a lot of people out there that can use some help.
Yep.
So if y'all know of anybody, if the public knows anybody that needs some help and they're not able to help themselves, please let some of us know. I'll be glad to
Well,
go and help somebody, because there's so many trees still down, there's so many houses still damaged and putting tarps on people's trailers and stuff like that. Some people just, they can get family to help them, but some can't. So if you find somebody that has a need, please let me know. I'll be glad to go help them.
And then also we have those trailers, Commissioner, those
Yeah.
campers.
Yeah.
How many have we given away so far?
One.
Only one, okay.
Well, we probably got some more, but it's just gonna take a little time for them to work into them, but one has been set up and operational.
I know in Dixie County, I think it has to be their homestead for them to get a trailer.
It does. I mean, the state had sent us an agreement for that, which Mr. Lang reviewed. We critiqued it just a little bit.
Now, if we don't use those, can we give them like to Dixie County to help them out? Cause I know they've been,
Yes, they didn't, I actually reached out to the chairman because we thought we were gonna need it really quick. We thought Levy County needed one, but that changed just to see if it was okay to give one to them. But, right now, we haven't, but we've let, Mr. Smith's let several of the counties know
maybe
that we have some.
Dixie
that
and
they
Levy
need.
know that if they need some, we have some.
They have been let.
Cause I know Dixie County, they've been giving them out, I see. But you
Yeah.
have to be homesteaded, I'm pretty sure is what I was told.
So Ralph Smith Emergency Management, they had the same opportunity I have. They can access state for trailers also.
They have been.
But I do have the ones if they need it.
Yeah.
And we still may need the one for Lee. I'm not quite sure. I just got the titles in the day for them, so.
Okay.
Good. Just another kind of a service announcement. I know Bell FFA will have their shindig on November 9th. So if y'all would like to attend. The other thing is the Community Church of the Nazarene down here on November 9th is gonna have a giveaway day. It's kind of like a yard sale, except you don't pay for anything. We're gonna have pots, pans, plates, anything that new families may want, or families that just lost their houses. There's gonna be the entire church is gonna be full of stuff, and it's a giveaway day. We're gonna have a few, food trailers down there. Of course, they'll have to buy the food. There's gonna be, I think, a bounce house for the kids, and November 9th, it's a Saturday, and we're giving away everything so if you have anything you'd like to donate, of course, we're taking donations too, but it's a giveaway day. And so if they'd like to come down, get pots, pans, plates, houseware, get anything we got, it's free. And if anybody does make a donation, the donation will go back to the Helena, or not Helena, but the Florida Hurricane Relief Fund that our church is involved in. But it doesn't cost anything, it's free. So you can donate or you can not donate, but that's what we said we'd do if anybody did want to donate money for the stuff they get. So it's a giveaway day.
Who do you contact today?
They can contact me or they can contact the church itself. November 9th, I think it starts at 8 in the morning and it'll go until people stop coming. So,
Also, Spring Ridge is having their community yard sale November the 16th.
Okay.
I'm assuming that's part of that property.
ours was gonna be a yard sale and we decided to give it away instead. A lot of people could use it. So young families and people who lost stuff in the storm can come and get whatever we got available. Any other? All right, we have a motion to adjourn in a second. I'm sorry. Is there any public, we've had so little today, I forgot. Is there any public participation before we adjourn? Anything you'd like to address the board with? Okay, we do have a motion and a second.